Hello viewers, welcome back to the Moose Mobile Auto Repair channel, and today we're working on a 2012 Toyota Corolla with a 1.8 liter engine, and today we are just going to be replacing the front brakes, rotors and pads. I do have some other work to do on this vehicle, but in this video we are just doing the front brakes, and then I'm going to be making a couple other videos later in the near future on the other work that I'm going to be doing on this vehicle. This vehicle is almost 13 or 14 years old now. It hasn't been rust proofed from underneath, and so later I'm going to be replacing the rear suction brake lines for the drum brakes in the back. The brake lines are corroded and rusted through, and so later in a future video I'm going to be showing on how to make and replace those brake lines. And we are also going to be replacing the flex hoses, the rubber flex hoses as well at the same time, but that's going to be in the future video. So now we need to pull the wheel off. This one has steel rims, and the hubcaps or the wheel covers, so you just pull them off. And it's a 21 mil for the lug nut. So now we are going to turn the wheel to the left. We are working on the left side. I'm just going to be showing you the left side today. We are going to be doing something different because later I'm going to be flushing out the brake fluid. So we are going to top up the brake fluid, and we are going to open up the bleeder screw before we push the pistons in. So now we just want to top up the brake fluid. If you want, you can suck out some of the brake fluid so it doesn't go through the brake lines, but that's only if typically if the brake fluid is very old and dirty. It's probably best to suck some of the fluid out and then top it up. And I forgot to mention that you probably want to clean the master cylinder, the reservoir first before you remove the cap, just in case if any dirt or debris were to get inside. I'm using .3 brake fluid. It's from a sealed container. I just opened it up off camera. So we're just going to top up the brake fluid a little bit. And that's it. And then we are going to close the cap. And so now I forgot to mention earlier that you want to make sure that the key is in the ignition so it doesn't go into a steering lock, so you're able to turn the wheel. So anyhow, we are going to open up the bleeder, and we are just going to use a flathead screwdriver to push against the piston. You can take the caliper off and then use a special retractor tool to push the piston in, and if you want to do that, but I think it's easier when the caliper is still mounted onto the vehicle. So we're going to open the bleeder. It's in an 8 millimeter. I don't normally do this on cars for brake jobs, so I typically I leave the bleeders alone, especially if they are too like rusted and you can't open them. I just leave them alone. But I'm doing this because I want to replenish the brake fluid. But this is the real way to doing brake jobs. But most guys do not do this because of the liability that may be involved with the bleeder screw if it's too like rusted. So typically we just we leave them alone. Anyhow, I'm going to push the piston. As you push the piston, brake fluid is going to squirt out, so make sure you have the drain pan accordingly to catch the fluid. Otherwise, it's just going to make a gigantic mess. It's a very cold and windy day today, so it's going to get everywhere. So once that's done, just close up the bleeder. Give this a wipe. Maybe use some brake cleaner to wash off before we take the caliper apart. And just wash off the area so we don't get brake fluid everywhere. There is some like brake dust and stuff, but we are going to be cleaning and servicing afterwards. 14 millimeters for the mounting bolts. You can use a regular wrench or ratchet or anything you like. It's a 14. Move the caliper out of the way. So as you can see, the piston is all the way in. I just wanted to mention that you can inspect the dust boot seal inside. It's easier to check it when the piston is a little bit out, so you can have a look at it. But I know on this vehicle is fine because I checked them earlier when I did the brake inspection. And so you want to make sure there's no traces of brake fluid inside there, because if you see traces of brake fluid, it means that the caliper is leaking and you need to replace or rebuild the caliper. So you can leave the caliper down here and rest it on the suspension if you want, or use a hanger tool, hang it up on the strut tower, on whichever works, so that it's not hanging or rusting by the brake hose. So we are going to remove the brake pads. The reason why we're replacing the pads, it's mostly because the friction material has been overheated. It's cracked. So there's going to be some brake fade. And so you can see that it's all cracking through here. So the brakes are not really doing its job anymore. Although there's still a little bit of material left, probably like 4 to 5 mil on this. So these brakes are very old. They're probably, I think, well over 10 years old. The brakes haven't been changed on this in a very long time. This vehicle is not driven very much. That's the problem. One of the customers, they purchased this vehicle from an older lady who didn't drive much, an elderly lady. So this customer also doesn't drive too much. This vehicle only has like 78,000 kilometers on it, so it's not driven a lot. So we are going to remove the mounting bolts for the caliper bracket. It's a 217 mil. You can use a wrench or an impact or anything you like. I'm gonna crack this free, and the same for the top. Take the bracket off. And remove the brake rotor. You can inspect the rotor if you want, but there's not too much to it. There's a little bit of scoring and minor rust, but it's not too bad. You can have a look at the caliper pins, the slider pins. Just make sure that they are moving. If they are seized, then you will need to heat them up to get them out. And during the brake job, you just want to inspect the flex hose, see if there's any cracking or any tears or rips or any signs that there's some kind of wear on the outside. Doesn't necessarily mean that if it looks okay on the outside, doesn't mean that it's okay on the inside. But if the flex hose is collapsed, typically there will be some drivability issues with the brakes. So, but this car is fine. There's no weird or odd problems going on. It's just a typical and regular brake job today. We're just going to we are just going to clean the hub surface and everywhere else. It's a good time to check the wheel bearing if there's any play or anything, any looseness or noise. So you can check it. I'm just using a 3-inch die grinder sanding discs, the 3M sanding discs, the coarse brown style. Clean the caliper too. I'm just using a drill with a wire wheel attachment, so you can just clean up all the dust and everything. Just be careful to not damage the seal in the process. So you just be careful to not damage anything. If you don't have all of these fancy tools, you can probably use a screwdriver, scrape some of the dirt off or something like that. But anyhow, spray some brake cleaner on the caliper. Just want to clean it off. And then hang it back up. And now we're going to use the the wheel stud cleaner for the hub. If you have heavy rust build up, then you'll need to continue cleaning, but this one here is not too bad. So once you're done, spray some brake cleaner to get rid of all the debris, dirt, all the brake dust. I'm just using the a proprietary Ford, the Motorcraft stuff brake cleaner, but you can use any brake cleaner really. So we're going to put some NTCs. You can use like fluid film or white grease if you want to spray some grease, or you can use NTC stuff. The silver or the copper grade NTCs is fine. The NTCs I have, I'm starting to get low. It's drying up a bit. I know that some people don't like NTCs because it attracts everything and gets everywhere. So we are going to compare our parts, the pads and the brake rotors, to make sure that everything is the same diameter. Now, because I'm making a video, I typically I check my parts first before I start the brake job. The last thing you want to find out is that you have the wrong parts and you have the vehicle taken apart. So you want to make sure that you compare the parts first, just before you start the brake job, if you're able to compare the parts while it's on the vehicle. So for the brake pads, make sure you compare it, make sure everything is the same. Everything is indeed is the same. This one came with the new clips, so make sure to use them. Some clips can be troublesome on some aftermarket brake pads, but still, you should use the new clips if you are able to. So now I'm just going to spray some of the disc brake quiet, the Permatex stuff. It's not a requirement to spray this stuff. This is just something that I use on every brake job. Is just this is just like a spray to it puts like a film a film on the backing of the brake pads to reduce vibration and noise, helps reduce something called caliper hopping. So the caliper doesn't have like excess movement when you are braking. This says here, it says Permatex disc brake quiet fills microscopic thickness variations and dampens vibration between the caliper brake pad interface. It resists washout in high temperatures, stops brake squeal by dampening vibration between the caliper and the brake pad, allows for easy disassembly by preventing rust formation between caliper and brake pad, compatible with anti-lock brake systems, ABS. So this is something people like myself in shops like to use for quick insurance, so that they don't have any comebacks, any issues with brake noise. Even I'm just trying to get this to work. The spray nozzle is a bit clogged up, so even though that even sometimes if you use the OEM stuff, it's less likely that you'll have brake noise, but it's still a good idea to use. So I had some issues with the spray nozzle, so I switched it up with something else for now. So this one, you just want to spray a little bit. You don't want to spray too much, just a light film. And just wait for this to dry up. I usually spray this before I start working on the brake job, so that way I don't have to wait for it to dry up. So meanwhile, we're going to service the caliper and probably put on the new rotor. So on what I like to do, I like to spray some brake cleaner on the brake rotors. A majority of the brake rotors, they have some anti-rust coating on them. So you need to spray brake cleaner to get rid of that, because if you don't, it could contaminate the friction material on the brake pads, because the manufacturers have some residual oils that are still on the surface of the rotors. So during the shipment and packaging and stuff, they spray oil on it because to prevent a rust when they're in shipment and things like that. But on some rotors, they are fully coated and they don't have the residual oils on them. But on some of them that are mostly coated or partially coated, they may still have some residual oils. So I always like to spray a little bit of brake cleaner on them, just in case. Now, for some brake rotors, they state to not spray any brake cleaner because of the coating, but I don't think there's any harm in that. And if in any case you can just spray directly on the shop rag and just give it a quick wipe, it won't do any harm. So now we are going to install the brake rotor on the vehicle. You can use an old axle nut and the lug nut of the vehicle to hold the rotor in place, so that way you are not fighting with the brake caliper when you install the brake caliper. So we are going to turn this back. So after we are finished, we'll be able to install the caliper bracket. So now we are just going to service the brake caliper. You need to remove all the clips. Take note of the orientation of where the clips are before you take them off, if you are not too experienced. Sometimes it does help to know how things were before you take it apart, and that's going to help you. That's going to help you later when you need to reassemble everything. So we are just going to clean the rust on where the contact points are, and then that's it. You can use a wire brush to give it a quick clean or something, or you can use a die grinder I usually use a combination of the die grinder and the wire brush. The wire brush is just for like surface rust and stuff. So we are going to clean this up. So now I'm just almost done. There's still quite a bit of rust on this. Uh, you don't need to get every single speck of rust off of it, but you do need to clean it off so that it's not causing issues between the brake pad ears, the contact points, and on the bracket and things like that. So we still have to clean it up a little bit more. It's not perfect yet. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we need to clean it up a little bit more. There's still some rust here. Probably have to switch to a coarser sanding disc. So I think that's good. It doesn't have to be extreme to the bare metal as long as it's mostly pretty much clean. You don't want to over clean this or overdo it because otherwise you're going to increase the clearance between the bracket contact point and the clips, and so it's going to cause too much clearance. And if you grind it too much, it's possible that the brakes will start making a clunking noise if you grind too much of the bracket down. And considering the fact that if the same bracket is used for routine brake jobs, the next guy is gonna grind it down even more. So you need to watch out for that. So just be careful. So now we are going to put some caliper lube. I like to use the orange stuff, silicone ceramic for the contact points, and for the pins I like to use the green stuff. I don't know if some people have had problems using this on caliper pins, so I just use the green stuff because I haven't had issues with the lubricant drying up or gumming up or anything like that. So I just use on what I've been using for many years, and whatever is working for me, that's what I use. Now the dealerships, they'll typically use the white stuff. It's also silicone based. It's white, and that's what they use for absolutely everything, for the contact points and for the pins and everything. So we are just going to lubricate the contact points now. And once again, you don't want to go too overboard with the servicing. Just to clean and to lubricate as needed. Just getting rid of the excess. So now we're going to install the clips. Have that in the wrong way. These this piece should be inside, pointed toward the inside of the bracket. So when you see the bottom one, it's running parallel from the bottom to top, so it should be the same. And then now we're going to lubricate the clips in the inside. Now there are some guys, some people, they like to place the brake pads in here first and then install them on the vehicle. It's up to you if you want to place the brake pads in here first and then install it onto the vehicle, or you can install the pads after you install the bracket on them. And so now we are going to clean and lubricate the caliper pins. So wipe down the caliper pin. If you need to clean the ends here to get rid of the rust. You want to make sure that you don't do it in front of the caliper, because all of the dirt and debris is going to land on it. So you want to put the bracket aside so that when you're doing cleaning, you don't want to get dirt or debris on the new parts. So I think that this is good. So we are going to lubricate it now. You don't want to put too much. You just want to put a tiny bit. As you are inserting it, you want to turn it at the same time. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that it's probably a good idea to replace the boots and or the pins every other brake job. But these boots seem to be okay, so I'm going to leave them alone. But typically, I like to probably every other brake job or so to replace the boots, because sometimes they swell up and they tear, and so it's not a bad idea to replace the boots. And sometimes the pins, if the pins are too badly like pitted and rusted and stuff. So we are going to do the top part, top or the bottom part, and on whichever way you are seeing it from. We need to clean this up. So now we are going to remove the rubber insert piece and to lubricate the inside of the groove. Now sometimes on these Toyota vehicles, they can this can cause issues when inserting it into the caliper bracket. It might like bind up. So sometimes if it's giving you problems, you can remove the rubber insert and just lubricate the groove, and you can use this without the insert. I haven't seen problems in 99% of cases if you don't use this, so it's not a big deal. But if you can use this, it's better to do so. You can use a thin screwdriver or flathead to remove the rubber insert. And to get that out of the way, make sure it's clean. We are going to lubricate that. And take the rubber and reinstall it back. I know a lot of guys do not do this, either because they're in a hurry or just lazy, or I don't know what. Lubricate the pin. Carefully insert it slowly and turn it at the same time. Sometimes it may get stuck in between. Sometimes squeeze the boot to get any excess grease if there's any. Typically at the end of the brake job, I like to pull back on the boot to take out any excess grease if there is. In some cases, if you put too much grease, it can cause something called an airlock in the system, which basically prevents the circulation of fluid. And if that happens, the vehicle will pull onto one side, on the opposite side in which the vehicle has the airlock on. So if the airlock is on the right side, it will pull to the left. If it's on the left side, it will pull to the right. Now, usually it doesn't happen on both sides. Typically it will pull onto the side that has the most airlock on. So I know about this because I used to run into problems every now and then back in the days when I was learning the trade, and then I found out on what I was doing wrong. I was putting too much brake lube inside the caliper pins and causing problems. So I'm going to see if I can do something different today, which I don't normally do. I'll see if I can put the brake pads on the bracket while it's off the vehicle and see if it makes it easier for me. But I don't normally do that. But I'm going to give it a shot and see if it works for me. It's not my style. I typically install the pads when it's when the bracket is on the vehicle. So just lubricating the brake pad ears now. So the caliper bracket is going to go like this. So insert it in between. It's a very windy day today, so it's starting to get extremely cold. So I'll just leave the pad like this, see on how it plays out for me, and then do the other pad. There's no inboard or outboard or anything for the pads. They're all interchangeable for either side. On some pads, they may have an arrow on them pointing upwards or downwards or something, or we'll say inboard or outboard. Some pads are directional, so you need to watch out for that, but not on these Corollas. So we'll install this now in between the bracket. Some guys just find it easier to install the pads off of the vehicle directly onto the brackets, so that way in some circumstances sometimes it's problematic installing these pads on the vehicle because of the clips, because aftermarket stuff. So the pads are in. So all we need to do now is to mount this back on the vehicle. We are just going to clean the bolts a little bit, put some anti-seize on it, and we're going to install it. So I cleaned the bolts and I put some anti-seize on it, so we are ready to install it onto the vehicle. And so now we are ready to install the caliper bracket onto the vehicle. See how much it makes life easier to install the pads on the caliper bracket first. And then that way there's no need to fight. There's no need to fight putting on the brake pads and stuff if you're having issues with the clips. Just putting in the bolts, and then we're going to tighten it up. I'll post this torque specs on the screen for you guys to see if you want to torque it. Just going to wind the bolts in, and I'll just use a wrench to tighten it up. And just use the German method, the guten tight, the good and tight. And you should be all good to go. I'll post the torque specs. You guys want to torque it or just tighten it up snug. I think it's like somewhere in the neighborhood close to 80 foot-pounds or something. So that's that. We are ready to install the caliper. Make sure that the brake hose is not twisted. Make sure it's running parallel to the caliper. And then install the mounting bolts. We're going to put some anti-seize on this. Install the bolts. post the torque specs if you guys want to torque it. If not, just tighten them down snug. These are not on very tight, probably like no more than 20 foot-pounds, I think. And then I just like to use a ratchet or wrench just to make sure it's tight. And then that's it. And what I like to do, I like to push the caliper back and forth to make sure that the caliper is moving freely. Just to make sure you verify your work, everything is installed properly. The flex hose is straight and parallel to the caliper, is not twisted, because if it's twisted and you don't see that, it's possible that you will have a brake failure. So make sure that everything is parallel, and you can squeeze the boots, as I stated earlier, just to make sure there's no excess grease, and then you should be okay. And then later you can wipe down the rotor for one last final time, just to make sure there's no contamination from the brake caliper grease. So clean the rotor down with brake cleaner, and you can take this off, and then that's it. This is a wheel stud installer tool. You can use like an old axle nut if you want, and go from there. I think that's going to be it. Just make sure to double check the brake fluid level, and make sure that after you finish, I still have to do the other side. So after I finish, make sure that you pump the brake pedal several times until you have a firm brake pedal before you take off, and then that should be it. Typically, I like to put some anti-seize around here on the hub, and that's it. So once you're done cleaning everything, make sure that the backing plate is not make sure it's not touching behind the rotor. Just make sure that you check and slightly to push back on the backing plate that's not touching the brake rotor, because very often sometimes the backing plate can scrape against the brake rotor and cause noise, and then you'll have a comeback. So just make sure that everything is clean and okay, and then and that's it. So I'm just working on the other side. One thing I forgot to mention earlier is that after you have the brake pads installed, you just want to make sure that you try to wiggle the pads just like this, to make sure that it's moving freely and that the pads are not stuck. Because if the pads are stuck, and then you need to take the pads out and the clips and clean the bracket a little bit more. You want to make sure that the pads are moving freely. So after you're done installing the wheels, torque spec 76 foot-pounds, just double check the brake fluid level. I pumped the brakes already, so I just if you need to adjust the brake fluid level, and then adjust it until it's at the max level, and I washed it down with some brake cleaner and some shop towels, and then that's going to be it. Just make sure that after you're done, to be easy on the brakes, make gradual stops. Some brake pads, they have like a break-in period, but a majority of brake pads, there's no break-in periods. Just drive as normal. So make sure to pump the brake pedal several times until you have a firm brake pedal, and then double check the brake fluid level just to be sure, and then that's it. And if you want to double check for leaks, if you want. Before you put the wheels on, you can do that too. It's extremely cold and windy outside. I think it's like 2 or 3 degrees Celsius. Uh, it's very windy, and so I just did the rear brakes, drum brakes, shoes servicing. I already have a video on that. I'll put the link on the screen. Uh, from 2009 to 2019 with drum brakes in the back is going to be exactly the same thing, because these Corollas generation and model years are pretty much based on the same chassis and everything. So everything is exactly the same. And one other thing is I'm going to be replacing the rear section brake lines and flex hoses, hopefully in the following week, and just go from there. So now I'm going to conclude this video. That's everything for replacing the front brakes, rotors, and pads on this 2012 Toyota Corolla. That's it for today. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please don't forget to give it a like, and please consider subscribing to my channel if you're not already a subscriber, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good day and take care.